everybody, and welcome. Today I am very excited to talk about one of the most amazing experiences that I have had in my entire life. That said, you may notice a couple of changes here. I did actually move relatively recently, so that's part of why I've been a little bit slow on updating videos lately, or uploading videos lately rather. But the biggest reason is, like I said, one of the most exciting experiences that I've done, which is go to Gen Con. I have been to a few conventions before, and you know, just some pretty exciting stuff, mostly anime and comics and things like that, but never a board gaming and like a RPG convention and things like that, which is really more of my wheelhouse, and I was extremely excited to go. So today I was just going to go over some of the things that I did, some of the new games that I got, and just show you guys some of the really exciting stuff that I did. Now, similarly to a couple of other videos that I've done, like the game updates and things like that, I'm not going to go like game by game and really go too in depth into any one, but rather more just sort of an overall, like, this is what I got, this is why, and things like that. And also a bunch of the stuff that I played as well. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get started with the Tabletop RPGs. So for the Tabletop RPGs, and by extension, one of the most fun experiences that I had, which was the True Dungeon, as it's called, one of the major things that my friends and I did was actually play D&D. We played a frightening amount of D&D 5th edition while we were at Gen Con. It was incredible. It was so much fun. Absolutely amazing, great time. We made all sorts of crazy characters, a whole bunch of different stuff. Lots of really fun stuff, learned about 5th edition, how they're going to run it, all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to go too much into it because essentially all I have is a bunch of paperwork for my different characters. Not too exciting as far as a video. The other really fun thing as far as the role-playing that we did was the Age of Rebellion and the Edge of the Empire Star Wars role-playing games, which we have played in the past, my group and I. But we also were very excited to take a look at some of the new Force and Destiny things that they had. The beta book was available at Gen Con, which was extremely cool. Lots of really well done stuff as far as utilizing the Force and being able to make a Force sensitive and Jedi type character now, whereas before it was almost an afterthought. But even so, tabletop, very fun. We spent probably a good literally 20 hours or so of the 4 days just playing tabletop role-playing. Lots and lots of fun, tons of fun. I would be glad to discuss it more if anybody is interested, but for now I'm just going to move right into one of the other experiences, which was the True Dungeon. If any of you have never done it, the idea behind True Dungeon is that it's a dungeon crawl that you're actually physically walking through, and they have puzzles set up already, and you have to try to figure out what the puzzles are. The combat is a little bit funky. It's essentially like shuffleboard. Literally, you're basically playing shuffleboard and you're trying to aim for a specific part. But the idea is that each person gets a character. In my case, I was the barbarian for our thing. But part of the issue that I had personally was there are two different sort of categories that you can go into. You can either go into the puzzle-oriented or the combat-oriented. As a barbarian, I really wasn't very helpful for puzzles, other than my own intellect, which really doesn't go well with a character of 10 intellect. Not really to brag too much, but I feel like I would be slightly smarter than a barbarian, but I really don't know. I certainly don't have a strength of 17, me as a person, but that's neither here nor there. It was a pretty good experience, but it was $50 just to do it once, and I personally don't think that it's really worthwhile. I might go again if again I had like a group of people, but it was 10 people in these tiny little dungeon rooms trying to figure everything out. Everybody's talking over one another. It was a little bit rough, but it was definitely an experience to have. And one of the biggest things for the True Dungeon is the secondary market of the tokens that you get. So each time you play, you get 10 of these little chips here. I know you can't see them too well, but there's a couple of them. So here, I'll get one nice and close. There, the Ion Stone of Iridescent Sphere. Ooh, fancy. And the idea is that every time you're ready to go into one of these dungeons, then you essentially equip these little tokens. They represent anything from armor to weapons to amulets to one-use items, all sorts of crazy stuff like that. And the thing is, there is a massive secondary market just for these little tokens. It's actually pretty incredible. I recommend that you look into it just to see how crazy some of these people are. So you are crazy about this game, rather, not crazy. But you can see they are approximately the size of poker chips. And one of the interesting things is that when we were playing, two people in our group actually had the poker case chips, or the poker chip cases, those metal cases, filled with these little things. It was insane. So many chips. It is just crazy. But hey, I have a ton of board games. I can't really say much. So either way, good times with the general role-playing style of gaming at Gen Con. Obviously, we got very little sleep because of most of it, but it was still a great time. Lots of fun, lots of advancement into 5th edition, all that good stuff. So now I would like to go into all the new board game stuff that I got. Starting off with the board games that I purchased at Gen Con is one that sort of fills in a gap that most of my collection has been lacking for a while. The game is The Resistance. So for those of you who are unaware, The Resistance plays 5 to 10 people. It's extremely fast to play, and the idea is that it's a deception game. You have X number of people who are members of the Resistance and Y number who are spies. The whole point is that you are going out on missions and you determine success or failure based on cards that you play, and the idea is that you have to try to root out who's a spy and who's not. Whoever wins 3 rounds wins the game. And the idea is that you, obviously, your identity itself is secret, but you can say whatever you want. But it's a lot of fun, really great party game, which is something that I have greatly lacked. I don't have a lot of games that can play very many people, but this is a really good example of one that does. And on top of that, it's one where even if you play with non-gamers, they can still play it fairly easily. You don't have to play with the additional cards like the plots and all that kind of stuff. But part of the thing is that if you don't play with those, you can actually fairly successfully recreate this with just a regular deck of cards. But that's a different video. Either way, The Resistance, definitely a good game that I picked up, and very, very exciting. One of the other great pickups that I did is actually a pre-release for my favorite game of all time. For those of you unfamiliar with it, my favorite game is Cosmic Encounter, and this particular expansion is Cosmic Dominion. This is one where the alien powers and everything were actually based off of fan feedback and player feedback to Fantasy Flight. So there's a lot of old favorites for powers going all the way back to the days of Eon, the very first release of the game, but there's also some really, really cool new ones, as well as some really interesting new mechanics that not only go with the alien powers themselves, but also in this case that actually alter your ships. You can actually have like a special little ring that goes on one of the ships that alters the way that it behaves. So you can have one that gives you like +3 to attack, or you've got one that can actually collect cards, or I don't remember the other one. I think there's 3 things that it can be though. But really cool, definitely an interesting one. Adds some really, really cool new reward cards for the reward deck if you have the expansion that added that, which I don't remember off the top of my head. But some new ones as far as the functionality and the mechanics behind them. Really good, really awesome expansion, and like I said, got it early release, which is always very, very exciting. Next on the list is one that, or not really the list, but either way, the next up is one that has been not only suggested to me by many, many of you, my viewers, but also one that I personally have looked at and played and been like, wow, I really, really want to get this game, and that is Eldritch Horror. So Eldritch Horror is the game for most people that doesn't necessarily completely replace Arkham Horror, but it's sort of like Arkham Horror Light. And the idea behind it is that instead of just going around Arkham for Eldritch Horror, you're actually going around the entire world, but the principle is pretty much identical to Arkham Horror. The biggest differences are the setup time is much, much faster, the play time itself is much, much faster, but you still get the ability to play, in this case, from 1 to 8 people, which is pretty incredible. And I don't want to use the term dumbed down version of Arkham Horror, but in a way that's kind of what it is. They took out some of the mechanics that Arkham Horror uses, but they left enough of it that it still feels Arkham Horror-ish, as if you're playing it, but still unique enough that it's like, okay, well, this is not only a different game, but obviously much faster, more efficient, all of that good stuff. Great by Eldritch Horror. Next up on the list is another game that doesn't necessarily replace anything, but it is very similar to several that I've played and have talked about, and it's very heavy. In this case, the Exodus Proxima Centauri. So in this one, the closest game that I can think of for it is Twilight Imperium. The thing is, that doesn't really do a lot of justice to Twilight Imperium itself, but even so, Exodus is a wonderful game, and it has a ton of the aspects of Twilight Imperium. It has the really large-scale space battles, it has the resource management, it has all sorts of the components for it, and not only is it actually physically smaller, it's in a much smaller box, but it's also substantially less expensive. I actually got this cheaper, which was very exciting because what's it called? The cellophane was already torn, so I was very excited about that. But it is a very fun game. I've only played it a couple times, but it's really, really cool. Again, it does have, like Twilight Imperium, it has a fairly long setup and play time, depending on how many players you have, typically. But overall, very good game, lots of fun, and definitely has a lot of the Twilight Imperium-y feeling and machismo, I guess you would say. So Exodus Proxima Centauri, very good buy, very, very fun game. Next up is actually a game for a category that I don't have any other games for, which is very, very exciting, and one of the most important aspects for it is that it is wonderful for 2 players. For those of you who have watched my channel for a good while, you'll know that that is one of the biggest things that I look for, is games that are good with 1 or just 2 players. The game itself is Jamaica. And it's a really, really fun game, and it's actually a racing game. The idea behind it is that you are playing as several sailors who are trying to race around the island of Jamaica. And at each little section, different things happen, and you can use different abilities, all sorts of crazy stuff like that. Like I said, not getting into mechanics too much, but it's a lot of fun. It's won all sorts of awards, and if you played a game similar to Formula D is the other really major racing game that I can think of, this plays out similarly, where again it is literally just a racing game, but lots and lots of fun, not too much randomness, but again very good with anywhere from, I think it's 2 to 6 players, let me see, yes, 2 to 6 players, and relatively quick as well, which is always great to see in a game. So Jamaica, very, very fun, really nice little racing game. Next up is one of the games that has been most recommended to me on my most popular video, which is the board games to play solo. The game itself is Robinson Crusoe. That's right, I finally got Robinson Crusoe, and I am ecstatic about it. It is so, so awesome, so much fun. I absolutely adore this game. I've only just recently, I've been taking the pieces apart and all kinds of stuff like that, because between the move and then going to Gen Con, coming back, some of these games I had to ship back, all that kind of stuff. It means that I haven't gotten a really in-depth look at most of them, except the ones that I had played previously. But in this case, just reading over the rules, looking at some of the components, it is Z-Man Games, which means the components are actually gorgeous, very, very sturdy, which is wonderful to see. But the game itself, reading through the directions, not only does it seem like it's really, really difficult, and therefore, in my case, pretty exciting, but also it just seems like a very well-designed game. As well it should be, because again, this is the most recommended game that I've had on pretty much all of my videos throughout them, which is really, really good. I'm absolutely ecstatic to play it. I cannot wait to get a good chance to really sit down and just go through it. So greatly looking forward to that. Robinson Crusoe, definitely a wonderful buy for me from Gen Con. Next up is a game that I have not only played recently, but that has actually been out for quite a while, and I've been meaning to purchase it, but just either never got an opportunity to, or it was just too expensive. So the game is Tikal. In this game, if you're not familiar with it, the idea is that you are a group of like archaeologists going out and exploring the city of Tikal, the Aztec city. And the whole point is that you go in and you excavate the ruins, see what you get, and all this kind of stuff. It's pretty exciting. It's a lot of fun. Obviously, from Rio Grande Games, it did win the Spiel des Jahres, or the Game of the Year. Which is really, really cool. Obviously a great endorsement for it. But overall, just a good, solid game. Again, this one plays 2 to 4 people, and any of those numbers fairly equally well. It is a little bit better with more people. I have played it with 2, but it is one that I've been meaning to get. I used to play it back when I first really started board gaming, but that was when somebody else hosted, and since I moved, I can't play with their copy anymore. So I got my own now. But really exciting. Again, not going too much into the details for it, but a great game, fairly easy to play, easy to learn, and just fun overall. Next up is another game that not only has come fairly highly recommended, but one that I have been very, very excited to not only try, but own myself, because again, it's a single player game, or it can be played as such, and it involves some of my favorite franchises. The game is Marvel Legendary. This game is so much fun. It combines a lot of the really great aspects of things like Dominion or Thunderstone, the deck building games, those really awesome deck building games. And then not only that, but you have the aspect of Thunderstone Advanced particularly, where you're going after the bad guys, and it's a semi-cooperative game in that sense, which is really, really fun and also fairly rare for a deck building game. In addition, on top of all that, you have the theme of the Marvel Universe, and the idea is that you're playing against people like Magneto and Kingpin and Red Skull and all of these types of guys that you know and recognize from not only the comics, but if you haven't read the comics, you see all these people in the movies as well. It's really, really cool. Lots of strategy in terms of how you build your deck, because there's synergy with the different symbols and all that kind of stuff. Lots of fun, wonderful game. A pain in the butt to set up though, and not only that, but between you and me, the insert in this box really sucks. It's absolutely terrible for this game. I'm trying to figure out a decent way to make it a little bit better. We'll see how well it goes. But either way, Marvel Legendary, definitely another wonderful purchase that I'm super excited about, and very excited again to play, even if it's just by myself. Last but certainly not least is another game that I played fairly extensively early on in sort of my board gaming career, as you might call it. But I haven't been able to get a copy, at least not very cheaply, and that is Imperial. For those of you who are unfamiliar, think of this sort of as Diplomacy Plus. If you haven't played Diplomacy, that is the infamous 7+ hour game where you're trying to control different parts of Europe, whereas in this one, the idea is that you're controlling these countries via stocks. You literally purchase stock in Italy, or Germany, or England, whatever it happens to be, and then whoever has the most stock in that country controls what they do. And that's why I say it's sort of Diplomacy Plus. It's like Diplomacy with a twist, because you add in the idea of, and that's actually why it has the dudes by the board here as the little symbol. You have those sort of like shadow people in the back who are really controlling the country and all that. Almost like Illuminati conspiracy theory level, but that's literally another game, Illuminati. Either way, Imperial's a really, really fun game. Like I said, I played it fairly extensively in the past. It is a lot of fun. Again, Rio Grande, great games, good quality products and all of that good stuff. Really can't go wrong, but the major issue that I have with this, or rather 2 issues, is first off, the length and the player number. While you can play with only 2 players, it's not very fun to play with only 2 players in a game like this. Anytime where you have like auctioning, bargaining, negotiation, anything like that, having only 2 people makes it a lot less fun because there's so little dynamic that can go across the table. And again, the time is typically 2 to 3 hours, which makes it a little bit rough in that sense. But either way, still Imperial, a very good buy, and very exciting from Gen Con. So now I'll just close up with a few closing remarks and some conclusions on my trip and how much fun it was. Thank you very much for watching my little video about some of the random stuff and the games that I got while I was at Gen Con this last week or so. Overall, like I said, it was a very exciting experience. If you ever get a chance to go and you have any sort of inkling or leaning towards playing any kind of board games, you definitely want to try to go. It was absolutely amazing. It was a wonderful experience being able to see all of these games, being able to play them with other people who are literally just sitting there and I say, hey, can I play? And then we all get to play. It's just wonderful. But make certain that you do several things. First off, drink electrolytes, drink Gatorade or something, bring a multivitamin or several. Make sure that you eat at some point. You will be eating junk food, so that's why you need your electrolytes and your multivitamin. And at some point, make sure that you get to sleep, and preferably on a bed. That's another story, though. Very unpleasant experience. But that was just for sleeping. As far as the gaming and everything else with Gen Con, it was an absolute blast. It was a wonderful experience for me personally. Like I said, if you are ever able to, I highly recommend that you go, because there is just nothing else like it in the entirety of the gaming world. And with that, again, thank you very much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Make sure that if you liked it, go ahead and give it a like and a subscribe so that you can see more videos like it from me, as well as all sorts of other stuff. And until next time, I will see you later. Thank you again for watching my video about my experiences and new gaming library additions that I got from Gen Con. If you went yourself, or if you have any questions or anything along those lines, or anything at all, feel free to put it all in the comments below. If you want to see more of my videos, you can check out some of them linked at the top of the page, or you can click that big subscribe button and you'll be able to see tons more videos in the future about more board gaming, video games, as well as science. Thank you again very much, and I will see you next time.